Recently I posted a video where I got a screaming deal on the Prime 1 Studios Optimus Prime Generation 1. Well, here is the Megatron, its counterpart, and I got an even better deal. Welcome to the Extreme Channel. My name is Mr. X. Before we get started, we have some giveaways going on. First thing is, when we hit 10,000 subs, which should be in the next 1 to 2 months, we are giving away these two Venom statues. If we can hit before April 15th, we're giving them both away. If it's after April 15th, then we're just giving one away. Stay tuned to the end of the video to find out how to enter. But today we're looking at this Transformers piece from Prime 1 Studios. This is Megatron Generation 1. Recently, I launched a video on the Optimus Prime counterpart. He's actually way up there in the corner. You see him? And I bought this from the same exact seller. At the end of this video, we're gonna do pictures of this next to the Optimus Prime, and then we're gonna put him with some Michael Bay Transformers. I recently went down the Transformers rabbit hole and I've been buying all types of Transformers. You can check out those videos at the very end. Also, right before the very end, we're gonna do some video close-ups and some fancy music for you guys so you can dance and watch this guy up close on top of the normal close-ups we're gonna do when we go over paint and sculpt. But Prime 1 Studios made this, they distributed it, I think it's still available on their website. Sideshow distributed it as well, and they made 1,500 of these. 1,000 were the collector's edition, which is what I have, and 500 were the exclusive that have additional switch outs we're going to talk about. And what's really ironic is I wanted the exclusive of this one and the collector's edition of the Optimus. However, I got the exclusive of the Optimus and the collector's edition of this one. The reason why I purchased the collector's edition is I bought it from the same seller on eBay that got me the Optimus. This normally retails for $9.69 plus shipping. Someone had it brand new, sealed, on eBay for $600, shipping included. I couldn't hesitate, snatched him up right away. I can live without the exclusive items we're going to talk about when we get to design. Just a little bit of background information on this guy. I didn't do it with Prime, but here is the box. It was a giant box, and what's funny is it was extremely heavy, but the statue doesn't seem that heavy. Here's the fancy art box for those of you that get your jollies off on that. Here's what the interior looked like. As you can see, a number of pieces, pretty easy to put together. However, for those of you that want a book for cats, it did have one of those included as well. Prime 1 Studios has been doing both the Michael Bay Transformers and the Generation 1, and I'm a fan of both. While I'm not a huge fan of the films of the Michael Bay Transformers, I do like the characters and the adaptations. But I am really digging these. And if you saw that Optimus Prime review, it's actually right here. I absolutely loved it, and I think it's probably going to be the same result here. So let's dive into the review, and we'll start off with concept. Just like the Optimus, this isn't true from Generation 1. It's their own adaptation of it. They take a lot of elements from that Generation 1, but they kind of put their own spin on it. The base, what I like, the base matches up with the Optimus. This futuristic Cybertronian one, and then it's a different type of Earth. So Optimus was more on this mound of dirt, where here you have a mound of sand and rocks coming out of one side and metallic parts coming out of the other that he's standing on. There's some lost in the middle you'll see with paint and sculpt. Moving up, he's in a museum pose just like Optimus. After we do this little close-up here, we'll do a comparison between the actual true Generation 1. And he's fully decked out. He's in his robotic form, so he's not transformed into a gun, but he still has his gun. Megatron's always known for that big-ass gun, and I love where it's positioned on him. Standard museum pose. I love the fact that it's not a direct copy of the Generation 1. Here is a comparison of both of them right next together. It's a tiny bit of what I would call a modern twist on it that I actually really enjoy, and I like it better than if they did a strict Generation 1 from the cartoons. So they showed his gun. They have an evil smirk on his face. They have the Decepticon symbol in a few different places you're going to see. So I think the concept is a W. It's a 4 out of 5. It's exactly what you'd want out of a Generation 1 Megatron. Let's jump into design next. With design, we talk about display ability, switch outs, things like that. Everything went together flawlessly. The magnets are incredibly strong. It actually has 2 different light up features as well. We're going to look at those, and it came with batteries for one of them, which is kind of weird. Only batteries for one. The switch outs that I actually don't have, let's look at those first. So on his left arm, he can have a hand, like the hand right here. That is the collector's version, that's what I have. However, here's some stock photos. He has a sword, which I think doesn't really light up purple. That's kind of a misleading picture. And a mace and chain, which I'm not a fan of the mace here, but I would have used the sword and displayed that 100%. And while it's not a switch out feature, someone pointed this out in my last review that the Optimus head actually turns. So does this one. So here he is with his head turned. And this is going to become useful because I'm going to put him side by side with Optimus at the end of the review. You can see that. Turned the other way. And then his head is one of the light up features, just like Optimus. So here it is, not lit up. But then here it is, by pushing a button on the back, it's lit up. And it is actually pure red. The camera doesn't capture that, but it's extremely bright, much brighter than Optimus. And his other light up feature is on his gun. So here it is, not lit up. And then here's a picture of it lit up. So a few different display options. I definitely like that. I like the fact, just like Optimus, the base doesn't take up a lot of room. One really interesting thing is the Decepticon symbol in the front is not center masked. So what I mean by that is if you have Megatron staring right at you right now, the Decepticon symbol is off. So that's very interesting. I don't like that. I think that was something they could have done differently. It's supposed to match Optimus Prime, but he's in a different part of the country or planet. So I'm not sure if I wanted matching bases exactly or not. I would imagine a lot of people would, so I think that's a little bit of a miss. I think the last miss with the design is they should have done a switch out portrait. It's always good to have more than one portrait if there's no seam line issues. They could have made an angry expression or maybe a more modernized or classic take on the portrait. So I think that was definitely an opportunity. But design-wise, I think it's very nice. There's nothing wrong with it. I appreciate the engineering was done really well. I'm not afraid of anything breaking. Let's jump into paint and sculpt next. We'll start at the bottom, move to the top. A few of the elements we're going to talk about are going to be very similar to that Optimus video. So if you want, you can fast forward, but I may start stripping while we review him. Look at the base. It's exactly like Optimus, if I remember correctly. The same tones, the same circuitry, and I really like this. I usually don't like a sub base like this, but I am digging this one. The Decepticon symbol on the front, just like with Optimus, it adds a good contrast. While that one was red for the Autobot symbol, this is purple, classic Decepticon. The upper part of the base here, I'm not digging as much. First, let's look at this sand. The sand sucks. The texture, the color, it's a big miss on it. They could have done a lot better, or this is why I would have preferred they would have just went with the dirt like with Optimus. I do appreciate the things they have buried in the sand. That looks really good. And let's look at the rock he's standing on. This looks decent. I like this a lot. It reminds me of the Optimus. I keep saying Optimus. Don't say Optimus. There's good texture, good coloring. Same with the metallic plate he's sitting on. There's some gears and circuits in there. It's very worn, very dented. A few different tones of copper and red and metallic colors. And then as we move up on Megatron here, not Optimus because we're not saying Optimus, I love the wear on the bottom. I love the fact that it tells the story with the base. Some rustic, dirty colors on top of his silver. And you don't see on Megatron as many inner working parts as you saw on Optimus. But one thing you do see on these feet is a variation with like some boosters or thrusters on the side, some vents. I like the red part on the top of the foot too, adds a little bit. And his feet seem very, very big, but that was kind of the Generation 1 style. So you have the mix of blacks and silvers and definitely some weathering on this. And as you move up on the upper part of the legs, kind of past what would be his boots, you see the same exact thing. Not as much black, you're moving more to the silver, but you still have the reds and blacks. A few different dials, things like that going on. Check out his torso, starting with the back. You know, where he would traditionally have some type of underwear suit, they painted that in black. I think it makes these look more humanoid when they do things like that. Then moving up the back, I believe this was like the pistol, part of the pistol. I may be wrong, but this is actually a separate piece. Goes in there by a huge strong magnet. But the layering of the armor looks good. There's a little bit of red on the sides. I like that. The front of his torso also looks awesome. I like what they did with the layering of the armor and the colors. You see a little bit of circuitry underneath everything, some vents, and then the Decepticon symbol. The purple really adds a good contrast to the statue. Check out his arms, a lot of the same going on, but different variations of it, and it makes it look really good. I'm a big fan. Same colors, they continue with some shadowing on that gray, but then the blacks and reds. Moving all the way down to his hands. Very robotic-like hands. Check out his gun. His gun looks great. Some cables on the side of it, a few dials. Different things going on. Kind of a quintessential part of Megatron. And his portrait. It does look good. Classic Megatron, very blank expression. I think that was a little bit of a miss. Where they did this with Optimus and it seemed to tell a good story, Megatron doesn't. I'd like him to look more fierce. But it's very classic. They added some good coloring into it so it's not as boring. So on this one, I think I actually like this statue more, but I don't think the paint and sculpt is as good, and a lot of that is because of the sand on the base and a few of the other things. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give the paint and sculpt on this a V for very nice. Then we have value. Where does value fall in this guy? Well, I think for a Transformers piece that's of good size, we didn't really talk about the scale. We talked about that with Optimus, but it's kind of the same story. So if you want to know that, go watch the Optimus video. I said Optimus. I think the value is great. I think it's very, very strong, especially the price I got it at, that's an X value. $600 for this piece, brand new. I would do that 10 times a day, all day. Find much smaller pieces that are not as good for even more expensive than that. And I think even at the retail price, it's still a good value. But overall, you know, it's interesting. My overall score is my gut feeling how much I love the statue. I think of how quickly I would sell it. I wouldn't sell this for a long time. I think the value is a W. It's a rail, especially if you have the counterpart of Optimus, which we're going to show you the pictures here in a second. And then also at the end, we'll do some close-up video of this guy with the fancy music you can dance to naked. I don't think I said naked last time. But if you want to know how to win those Venom statues, first thing is comment on this guy right here. What do you like better? Do you like the Optimus or do you like this one? That's question number one. Number two is make sure you like this video if you have not done that yet. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe and hit that bell notification. Then also, so we get to the 10,000 quicker, share these videos and warn people that it takes 60 videos to like me. Do that, and then the 10,000 sub video will drop very soon. But regarding this guy, let's take a look at him with Optimus. So here they are next to each other, and there are definitely some disadvantages. If you want to have them face off side by side on a display, you kind of have to turn one's back towards you because of their guns. So I think that's an issue. Some people do like museum displays like this, where you can have them side by side, which is cool, but then it looks like they're kind of getting along and they're posing for a picture at the same time. So I think a few disadvantages. The nice thing is you can turn those heads, but yeah, not quite sure how I'm going to display them, but you guys are going to know right now because here is a picture from the future. This is next to some Michael Bay Transformers to kind of give you an idea. I haven't set this up yet, so hopefully it looks good. If not, it might just be temporary for you guys until I figure something else out. And you can also get a scale comparison, obviously next to Jet Power Prime. This is Optimus is tiny. That's all I got for today. Talk to you tomorrow. Take care.